I hate you.
Man, these symbiotes really need to stop picking fights with pink-haired anime characters. They're f***ing crazy.
Oh, better luck next time, buddy. Woo!
Wrong.
What's up, YouTube? Tenton here, and today we will be discussing the next time on Death Battle between Sabrewulf from Killer Instinct and Jon Talbain from Darkstalkers. But before we get on to that, let us briefly discuss episode 135. Krona vs. Venom was a fun episode all around. The analysis was informative, and a lot of what Shark and I said was brought up. We didn't bring up everything, but I think we did a fine job with our prediction. We were right, and my losing streak has thankfully finally ended. The animation was good, not great, but good. Krona fit the puppet models they like to use very well, and his erratic fighting style was on full display. Certain shots were a bit clunky, and Venom standing still for the kill shot was kind of dumb, and them never straight up saying his max strength was really annoying, but those are mostly nitpicks. It was a good episode overall, and I really enjoyed it. With all that being said, let's get on to the next time. Sabrewulf vs. Jon is this year's Halloween episode. Kind of ironic based off the episode we just had, but hey, the more the merrier, I guess. The theme of this episode is blue-collared wolfmen who hail from Europe, and who are from both somewhat obscure fighting games. More so Darkstalkers, but still. Interestingly enough, they were both created in 1994, so for once both characters have the same birth year, and they have existed for roughly the same amount of time. Before I get on to the main portion of the analysis, I just want to let you guys know that this episode will likely be shorter than most of my predictions. Jon and Sabrewulf don't have a lot of media to draw from, and I'm creating this episode on a super time crunch due to Death Battle releasing the episode a day earlier on Halloween. Thanks, guys. Thanks a lot. I still want this episode to meet your expectations, so it will still be edited like normal, but it will likely be notably shorter. I hope that's okay. Now, let's get into this. Sabrewulf will be starting us off. Sabrewulf was once a man who on one fortunate, or I guess unfortunate day, depending on your perspective, came across an arm of a werewolf, and after accidentally getting cut on it at the next full moon, he transformed into the feral beast within. Sabrewulf physically is strong enough to tear through solid metal. By scaling to TJ Combo, who Death Battle has previously analyzed, we can conclude that punching the 550-pound Fulgor 13 feet into the air would come out to 44,820 newtons of force, which is equal to roughly 10,000 pounds of force, or roughly equal to about 5 tons of force. I've also heard that he might scale to some town level feats and to some feat involving a meteor, but as far as I know, those are a bit shaky. Speed-wise, he scales to the rest of KI's cast, who should be anywhere from hypersonic to potentially the speed of lightning. I have also heard that he might have some light speed scaling from some other characters from Killer Instinct. Durability-wise, he can scale to TJ Combo, jumping off the over 1,000 feet tall skyscraper owned by Ultratech. And Sabrewulf has taken hits from the likes of the demigod killer, Jago. Sabrewulf's fighting style is very aggressive. He is a rushdown fighter by nature, focusing on dealing as many deadly blows as possible. Sabrewulf is more feral in nature, and he rarely, if ever, thinks a situation through before acting. This wolf is all offense and rarely ever defense. His moveset, while not being the most diverse, is still impressive. Sabrewulf can summon flaming bats to aid him in combat. He has a fast dash, allowing him to get to his enemies with blazing speed. He has the standard Wolfman abilities of having sharp claws and teeth, which he can use in his deadly combo chains. His Eclipse attack can flip an enemy over, leaving them open for further attacks. His cuts delivered on opponents also have a chance to pass on the curse, turning them into a savage werewolf just like him. And lastly, there is his Feral Rage. Upon activation, all of Sabrewulf's shame and emotion is thrown aside, allowing him to tap into the true power within and truly become a beast. This state also makes him both physically stronger and faster. Sabrewulf has few, if any, canonical fights, but he has fought and nearly killed Jago in the Killer Instinct comics. Sabrewulf's only real weakness is that he is notably unintelligent and has a bad tendency to give into his feral nature, often making his attacks far less precise. Though that being said, he has still matched a trained martial artist like Jago, so he is certainly not unskilled by any means. Moving on to Jon, like Sabrewulf, he can turn into a werewolf, however, his transformation is not a curse, and is more of part of his family history and biology. When he transforms, he keeps his intelligence and his ability to think rationally. Though, in his early years, he did have a bad tendency to let his anger get the best of him. Stats-wise, Jon can scale to building level and even small country level characters. He's capable of hitting the 5,000-pound Quetzal into the air, and lastly, he scales to this pyramid-looking dude who can move pyramids with his bare hands. In the Darkstalkers world, they are both ranked to be B-class level threats, meaning their level of power should be at least remotely similar, and Jon has fought people like Morrigan and Dimitri who are rated at higher classes. Speed-wise, Jon scales to Felicia, who is capable of dodging lightning, and he has some light speed scaling from what I've heard of, but I couldn't find any specific examples. Durability-wise, he's tanked hits from the rest of the cast, and he should be at minimum town level, but he does have some scaling to country level attacks. Jon, based on my notes, is the far more versatile of the two. He has his claws and teeth, which he can use for up-close attacks. He is lightly trained in Shotokan Karate. This form of karate is based on a strong defense and keeping calm and in control. This style is great at waiting for an opponent to make a mistake and capitalizing on that moment. Thanks to his master's training, Jon has learned to keep himself calm and in control, really fighting off that werewolf stereotype of being a mindless monster. He also has his beast cannon technique, which lets him freaking super dash through the air like a Dragon Ball character. He has his wild circular throw, which is a surprisingly painful throw for someone who claims to want to avoid unnecessary violence. He also has his Mirage body technique, in which he moves so fast that it looks like he's in two places at once. He has his climb laser, in which he powers up one of his kicks with ki for a devastating strike. He also carries nunchucks, and he's very proficient with them. Lastly, he has his dragon cannon. This technique lets Jon channel his inner Super Saiyan 4 and allows him to shoot out 2 dragons using his ki. This move is essentially his Kamehameha and is usually his finisher of choice. Jon's only notable weakness is that he has to resist the urge to give into his wolf instincts. This especially becomes difficult during red blood moons, in which Jon will become extremely aggressive and will run the risk of turning feral. Now, with both of these combatants on the board, let's compare them. We won't need specific categories for this episode. Strength-wise, it's not close in the slightest. Sabrewulf's best scaling puts him at 5 tons of force, and even if I scale him to the meteor feat, it would not matter. Plus, if we are doing high-tier scaling, Jon scales to old Pyramid Head over here, and this guy can move pyramids made of limestone. That should weigh about, 5,750,000 tons. Even if Jon only scales to 1% of this, he would still be capable of lifting 57,000 tons, and over 11,000 times more than what Sabrewulf can scale to. Speed is relatively even if we take their scaling at face value, but I'm leaning more on Jon in this category. His scaling to Felicia is easier to quantify and easier to prove in comparison. Durability is also likely in Jon's favor due to Darkstalkers just being a more powerful world overall. Jon's likely more experienced overall, if only slightly. Sabrewulf's arsenal pales in comparison to Jon's. Jon is a trained martial artist whose fighting style is also built on defense and waiting on their foes to mess up, which Sabrewulf's more aggressive fighting style does not pair up well against. Jon keeping his intelligence will also allow him to strategize better, and while Jon could potentially go feral, the odds of Death Battle giving Sabrewulf a blood moon to do this is very unlikely. Even if they did, Jon is still stronger and faster, so this fight is rather obvious when you look at it objectively. Jon is ahead in almost every category except maybe hacks. Sabrewulf's attacks could potentially turn Jon feral immediately, but even if they did, Jon is still stronger by comparison. I've decided to back Jon Talbain for this episode. Sabrewulf might appear to have the bigger bark, but I believe that Jon has the better bite. But what do you guys think? Are your instincts telling you to back Sabrewulf? Or is your pick a bit more on the dark side, like myself? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. This has been 10 Ton, and I hope you enjoyed this prediction. I promise to give myself more time for the Red vs. Blue episode. Well, that's all from me. Peace.